We hear a lot about emotional intelligence in speaking, in relationships where we get together in person. And I think most of us try to show up for ourselves and others with self-awareness, some degree of self-management, and a lot of awareness about what other people in our relationships need, right? So we try to be emotionally intelligent with our friends, our family, our colleagues. But in today's world, a lot of our relationships take place completely through writing. Many of the people I know through my work are people I've never met in person or never even had a phone call with, and I know them almost strictly through email. That actually means I've got to write with emotional intelligence too. So today we're going to talk a little bit about writing EQ. And we'll continue to create some more videos about writing EQ for you, so please let me know in the comments what you'd like to think about, what types of things you're trying to manage in your writing, because for the most part, meaning has two sides. A reader will get the information you intend from your message, but they're also going to have an emotional reaction. So we want to think both about the information we're conveying and the emotions that we're doing it with. So today we're going to start out with 4 ways that you can start to show writing EQ towards your readers. And these are going to be to help your reader out by hosting them and helping them get around your document or your email, speaking respectfully to or about your readers, considering your readers' daily life and realities so that requests that you might make are going to jive with what's realistic for them. And then lastly, to check and make sure we're not putting ourselves first or sounding like we are by writing in a way that does so. Okay, so let's look at 4 ways to boost your writing EQ. And this is just the first of many videos about this because it's a hugely important topic right now in our virtual world. Question number 1, how can I help my reader? And as I like to think about it, how can I host my reader? How can I be a good host for whoever is visiting my email or my document and whoever's trying to navigate my email or my document? To help your reader with those issues, we can do things like include more formatting, more headers, more bullets, navigational tricks and alerts to catch the reader's attention and say, hey, look, here comes a list of ideas. Hey, look, here comes an example. Oh, here's a diagram that matches with this paragraph. We want to make sure our reader knows what's up by hosting them and guiding them with visual signals like that. Another way to help our reader know what's coming and understand the content is to start with a preview. So in the beginning of an email, we could briefly set the context, talk about our main point, say what this is for. And we've talked earlier in the emailing video about how you can even use your subject line to give your reader a preview of what's coming in your email. That's writing EQ. That's saying, hey reader, I'm going to give you a subject line that gets you ready for what you're going to read because I'm taking care of your brain and your thought process and your reading process. Similarly, we'd want to clarify our call to action for our readers, make sure they know what to do. And anytime we're putting ideas in an order or pros and cons in an order, I would order them in the level of importance to the reader, not to ourselves. Sometimes things can seem very important from the point of view that we're working within, but to show writing EQ, we want to think about what's most important on the other side. And so ordering things in the order of relevance to your reader shows your reader, hey, I'm thinking about what matters to you. Number 2, how can I talk respectfully to my reader or about my reader? This would include a few things that we want to consider where we don't want to disempower our reader by accident. We don't want to disrespect them, we don't want to disempower them. So to avoid disempowering our reader, we can make sure that our sentences don't accidentally put them in a situation where they don't have choice or they don't have power. For example, if we wanted somebody's feedback and we said in an email, your feedback is required, it's clear, but it might sound a little bit pushy depending on who the reader is. It might sound a little bit like we are not leaving them any choice or agency or empowerment in the matter. And so if I wanted to write with a more reader empowerment style, I might say, we'd love to hear what you think. Please share your input with us. Secondly, to avoid disempowering or disrespecting our reader, we want to always refer to other people as they wish to be referred to, right? That means checking our reader's pronouns, It means if we're referring to a group of people, to refer to them with names and titles that they would use for themselves. If you are talking about a demographic group that you don't belong to, that's when it's time to do some research. Go onto websites from nonprofits supporting that group and look at what kind of language they're using. Do some research to figure out, how can I refer to this group of people in a way that they would refer to themselves? And then lastly, we talked about this in the last video on reducing conflict, but be really careful with when you use the word you. When the situation is positive, stick with you. When the situation is negative, talk about the topic, the results, the project. Those are all ways to make sure the reader is not accidentally getting disempowered by the way we speak to them or about them. Third question to ask yourself, what daily realities does my reader face? Our reader is not the same as ourselves. Their day looks different than ours, their requirements look different than ours. So when we write to someone, especially if we're going to request something, it's really helpful and courteous to think that through to make sure that our requests are realistic. So I like to think through my reader's potential schedule, any issues I might know they're dealing with, any deadlines they might be facing, any constraints. Do they not have time? Do they not have money? Do they not have staffing for a particular topic? Those constraints are going to matter, and so we want to write in a way that recognizes, hey, I understand you have these constraints and I've thought about that, and here's what I'm suggesting. We also want to focus on what's most important to our readers every day. What do they care about? What's important in their industry or their department? What are the priorities of the marketing department versus the IT department? We want to think through the reader's perspective. And then lastly, consider, are there any challenges or even biases that our readers are facing and managing throughout their daily life that we want to be sensitive to? And then lastly, I would encourage all of us to consider, am I accidentally putting myself first through the way I've written my sentences? None of us want to put ourselves first. We want to care about our reader, but we could accidentally sound like we're only talking about ourselves. I've done this before where I've reviewed an email I've written and noticed that every single paragraph started with the word I. Might be nice to start some of our sentences about somebody else. Start with you, start with we, start with our team. Consider other people to put your sentences focus on, even though often the easiest default is I. We want to show what's important for the other person, so of course we'd want to include them in who's most important in our sentences. I would also suggest writing more about what your reader wants to know than about what you want to say. There may be things that we think are important. If I'm telling somebody about a situation, maybe I want to give the background, the context, a narrative of what happened, and my opinion on it. But the reader maybe just needs to quickly know what happened. So I need to make those choices based on what they would actually need in that moment, not about what I want to say in that moment. And then lastly, when I'm talking about deadlines or projects or changes coming up, I need to consider my reader's life as well as my own when I propose a change or propose a deadline. Make sure that they're realistic within the realm that your reader is dealing with. Okay, so those are 4 early starter tips, starter questions to think about when you're boosting your writing EQ to reach your readers even better. I really want to know your thoughts on this. This is probably the topic that I get the most questions about in workshops. Things like, how can I be direct but also kind? How can I be clear but also show that I care? How can I talk about what I need to say but also manage what they need to know? So bring me your questions. Let me know in the comments what else I can talk about with this new topic of writing EQ. And let's get our writing shaped in a way that's going to work for our readers as well as ourselves and build positive relationships in the process.